Now we arrive to point 7 on our agenda. It's the exchange of Executive Vice President for a clean, just and competitive transition. A long-standing friend of the European Committee of the Regions, Teresa RIBERA. And I also invite the rapporteurs to the stage, Konstantinos Bakoyannis and Rafał Trzaskowski, to join us on the podium. The rapporteurs are coming, no?
Yes, yes.
I see Konstantinos Bakoyannis, I don't see Rafał. Okay. We will start. So, yeah. So in the past years, European attention was dragged from everyday realities of climate change to the borders and beyond, but I think the past few weeks changed a little bit the focus to the inside and to urgent adaptation to growing uncertainty in also climate. So I'll give the floor to the guest Executive Vice President, Teresa RIBERA, right away.
Thank you so much, President, members of the committee, friends. It is a great pleasure for me being with you today, and I think that my first message is a message of gratitude for allowing me to share this very important, being present, take part in this very important discussion. Yes, 37 degrees may be something frequent in southern Europe. It is not so frequent in Brussels, in Paris, in Hamburg, in London. It is a scary scenario that has been lasting quite a lot during last week, and that may be increasingly frequent in our continent. So allow me to start with something that is important, and that please take this as a very sincere recognition of your very important work. I would like to quote Elinor Ostrom. She won the Nobel Prize for something which is quite obvious, but it is important to remind. She showed that our shared problems are rarely solved from the top alone. Trust, she argued, is built closer to the ground, in communities small enough to act and yet connected enough to matter. And you are representing exactly those communities. And climate and energy also represent, with other fields, those aspects of our day-to-day reality that need to be addressed. So I come not to say what to do, but to recognize and see with you how to improve our action. Because yes, energy and climate policies are not designed and implemented exclusively in Brussels. We have a very important role to take, but it is together with you. We need to work hard to join efforts to multiply success, to build opportunities, to facilitate a scale, to be prepared for what it is already happening, to decide on the ground in your regions, in your cities, in your communities. You are the front line of this transformation, and I am with you, ready to back and to support you. But recognition has to show up where it counts. So let's speak about the budget. Let's speak about the MFF, the concerns you express, the way we can handle better your expressions of interest and concern. A budget where we place energy, climate and environment at the heart of the next MFF. They run horizontally across every major programme. The 35% climate and environment target is binding. It will mobilise more than 700 billion euros dedicated to these policy goals. And our proposal also includes the do not significant harm principle, which means that funding must not negatively impact biodiversity, infrastructures, people, and other environmental objectives. And we track our funding for climate mitigation, adaptation, environment through a clear expenditure mechanism. A mechanism that reflects your very sincere and bold opinion. Of course, more will be needed in light of the huge investment needs for the green transition. It is the starting point of the negotiations. And your role is crucial to ensure that our joint EU budget delivers on the challenges we face as a union. We also acknowledge the fundamental importance of regional and local dimensions because, as I said, it is there where reality, where facts take place. Turning away from fossil fuels to clean, homegrown energy, building resilience to extreme weather and restoring nature's ability to support us all happen locally. Green, healthy and climate-proof cities, high-quality services, water supply, housing, waste management take place at the city level. So the national and regional partnership plans are designed to connect to national energy and climate plans to ensure a stronger role for cities and regions. It must be so. Let me reassure you on the foundations because trust is built on them. Still, cohesion policy remains a cornerstone covered within the plans, and ensuring your role in their governance is respected because we cannot deliver when working from centralising power. We need to share responsibilities and join efforts in a respectful and effective manner. We may need flexibility, but we need to respect each other. Just transition in cities and outermost regions are recognised as well as the objectives of the Social Climate Fund are preserved, so it can shield vulnerable households from rising energy costs. We have also heard from this House and the Parliament on life to keep it visible and effective. This will be a key demand in the further interinstitutional negotiations. Our MFF proposal aims to support the clean and just transition, placing the regions at its core. Europe imports more than half of the energy we consume. That is not a market detail. It is a strategic vulnerability. The recent conflict in the Middle East cost us 40 billion euros in extra imports in 3 months only. We have made real progress. Over 70% of our electricity is now clean, up from 57% in 2019. But supply-side gains will soon hit a ceiling if not matched by electrification of demand. Our rate has stalled at 23% for a decade. Others have identified the way to reach more than 34% of their consumption. This 23% is the average level of petro-states and behind other key industrial players such as China that does not count on oil and gas. We may discuss on the importance to develop our strengths as electro-economies because we need to electrify faster in industry, transport and buildings. But as a relevant union leader told me recently, we also need to warn against those that behave as if we were a kind of fossil idiots, so to say, people that lock in fossil fuels dependency. We need to navigate, but to get rid, to build a much more respectful and a much more optimistic future. And we may pay more attention to the so-called eco-nations, those being deeply vulnerable but remaining committed and active on climate. It is on the ground where you have a specific capacity to make the difference. Renewable energy, heat pumps, batteries, clean grids. These technologies build prosperity locally, and a robust ETS can be the engine to fund that. Green areas, climate shields, freshwater security, climate-proof buildings, climate-proof infrastructures to prevent the collapse of our health system, our transportation services, to assess the risk and anticipate the debate of the acceptable thresholds and identify the communities and individuals that are exposed to the highest risk in our communities. In that context, I welcome your call for social leasing, heat pumps, rooftop solar, efficient appliance, electric vehicles. They are all placed within reach of every household. That's the aspiration. I also welcome your support to the temporary state aid framework as well as on the windfall profits measures and solidarity contributions. That is how we may beat energy poverty, how we can build competitiveness at once, how we can pay back and reward citizens' efforts to build a better future. What you build at home, you can also defend abroad. This brings me to the diplomacy that you also comment on. You are right that Europe should defend the rules-based order while raising its own ambition. The two go together. We cannot ask others to act while slowing down ourselves. And mayors and regional leaders deliver the Paris Agreement through real territorial action. Last week, I took part in the Climate London Week, the 10th anniversary of the Global Covenant of Mayors and the homage to Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General that has been working hard on climate. As I said, 37 degrees in London, 40 degrees in Paris, 36 in Brussels. It is insane. Let's work under the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships. Let's join efforts. Let's join forces. We can work with multi-level governments and the European Commission. You are also the first line of defence against disinformation and polarisation. So your voice has to carry at the different levels, including the multilateral settings. Let me close simply. This transition will be won locally, or it will not be won at all. You can count on us, and I hope, I wish, I enjoy counting on you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. You know that our attention is constant on the everydays and everyday realities and climate and energy goals, so we keep up. And now I will invite first Konstantinos Bakoyannis, who is rapporteur on the opinion EU Global Climate and Energy Vision towards more inclusive climate and environment global negotiations. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam President, dear Executive Vice President and dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to sincerely thank all members who tabled amendments to this opinion. I am indeed very much grateful for the constructive cooperation across political groups and national delegations. This opinion sets out the Committee of the Region's priorities ahead of two major international conferences later this year: the UN Biodiversity COP17 in Armenia and the UN Climate COP31 in Turkey. These conferences come at a particularly difficult moment. As we all know, multilateral cooperation is indeed under growing pressure. International commitments are increasingly questioned, scientific evidence is challenged, and geopolitical tensions risk diverting attention. And this is me being as polite as possible. Yet, climate change and biodiversity loss do not stop at national borders. They require stronger, not weaker, international cooperation. The Vice President mentioned before that Europe experienced one of the most severe heat waves on record in recent days. But what is the truth? That every year we break the record, and every year extreme heat claims thousands of lives. This is not an isolated weather event. It is a consequence of the climate crisis. This is why this opinion sends a clear message. Adaptation is essential, but adaptation alone is not enough. We must also tackle the root causes of climate change by accelerating the transition to clean, secure and affordable energy. Reducing our dependence on fossil fuels is not only a climate imperative, it is also essential for Europe's competitiveness, security and strategic autonomy. Across Europe, cities and regions are indeed delivering solutions. We know this very well. We are renovating buildings. We are creating greener and cooler public spaces. We are adapting essential public services. And we are strengthening emergency preparedness. But local action cannot succeed without adequate resources. A plan that is not tested, staffed and funded is not a real plan. The next MFF must therefore provide cities and regions with the investment we need. The investment we need to strengthen resilience and accelerate the green transition. At the same time, no territory must be left behind. Territorial cohesion must therefore remain at the heart of Europe's climate and biodiversity policies. Climate action also means protecting and restoring nature. Investing in nature-based solutions, ecosystem restoration and water resilience is one of the most effective ways to reduce the impact of heat waves, floods and droughts, while delivering environmental, social and economic benefit. Whether at COP31 or COP17, we must be systematically involved in national planning and implementation, financing and monitoring. Global commitments will only succeed if they are translated into action on the ground. That is why this opinion calls for a mandated multi-level dialogue with the UNFCCC process, stronger participation of local and regional authorities, national delegations, and our full involvement in shaping the post-2030 climate and energy framework. I would like to thank everybody for their support. I would also like to sincerely thank our expert, Paula Lepori, for her valuable support with this opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I invite Rafał Trzaskowski, who is the rapporteur on the opinion mainstreaming climate, energy and environmental priorities across the next budget. The floor is yours.
President, Commissioner, colleagues. Too often the debate on climate and energy is presented as a choice between economic strength and decarbonization. But for Europe's regions and cities, the clean transition is not only a climate imperative, it is a matter of security, it is a matter of competitiveness and above all, a matter of resilience. If we want a stronger Europe, we must do three things: reduce our energy dependence, lower the costs of climate change and create new business opportunities rooted in European value chains and clean technologies. Europe's competitiveness depends on its ability to produce more clean and affordable energy in Europe. As long as we remain dependent on imported fossil fuels, our economy will stay exposed to geopolitical instability, supply disruptions and price shocks. We have seen this very clearly in recent crises. Since the beginning of the war in Iran, the EU's fossil fuel import bills have increased more than 22 billion euros. We saw similar effects after the war in Ukraine. This is not only an environmental program, it is a major economic vulnerability for our households, our businesses and our local economies. That is why structural investment in homegrown energy must start at local and regional level by accelerating renewables, investing in energy efficiency and strengthening grids and interconnections. Competitiveness is also about reducing the growing costs of climate change. Climate change is becoming a silent killer. According to the World Health Organization, since 21st June, more than 1,300 excess deaths have been recorded in Europe linked to high temperatures, since many of our homes, schools and workplaces are simply not built for these realities. Beyond the human tragedy, there are direct economic impacts: damage to infrastructure, disruption of transport and public services, and rising costs for healthcare and emergency response. If we do not invest in adaptation, these costs will continue to rise and weigh heavily on local and regional economies. The green transition is also about creating growth, supporting clean tech, the circular economy and other sustainable sectors, open new markets and drives innovation. Investing in regions and cities turns climate ambition into real economic development on the ground. It helps local companies, SMEs and startups scale up solutions in renewable energy, energy-efficient construction, sustainability, mobility and circular materials. Europe's sustainable competitiveness will be built on its regions and on its cities. Yet the new MFF proposals risk weakening this by moving towards a more centralized model. This is a big mistake. We are Europe's best allies in achieving these priorities. And that's why we need to do something about it. We have three main requests: multi-level governance. NRPPs must include multi-level governance platforms and mandatory urban and regional chapters. We welcome the support of the European Parliament on this, and we will urge Member States and the European Commission to follow the Parliament's direction. Investment in climate and competitiveness. The European Competitiveness Fund should provide direct financing to local energy and climate plans and direct funding for cities. As Europe invests in clean energy, climate adaptation and green innovation, its regions and cities will be stronger, safer and more prosperous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I will give the floor first to the representatives of the political groups, and then I will open to the members for 1 minute, as indicated in the list. First, the floor goes to Markku Markkula.
Madam Executive Vice President RIBERA, extreme heat is now a reality. You pointed out it clearly. Citizens know that. However, Europe can achieve its ambitious climate goals, but only if we radically strengthen the implementation. The direction is European. However, action takes place on the ground in cities and regions through cooperation with industry, universities and citizens. This is where energy systems change, clean technology are deployed, investments are made and public support is built. We need systematic transformation rather than fragmented projects. The EU missions, the competitiveness compass, the clean industrial deal, cohesion policy, FP10, and several other EU initiatives must reinforce one another and support integrated place-based action. The Committee of the Region has mobilised a major European resource that remains underused. It's our members. And through them, through us, the public-private ecosystems in cities and regions can really be taken to active use. We have, the COR has a Green Deal going local roadmap where we commit ourselves to measurable implementation, local green deals, scaling of pioneering solutions and stronger links between mitigation, adaptation, biodiversity, competitiveness, innovation and investments. Now, on behalf of our Green Deal Going Local working group, I propose that we prepare a joint action programme with you, Madam Commissioner, and your services. We should define a small number of high-impact actions through which we really can implement. And this is where we can deliver and we can mobilise the bottom-up movement, a real movement to reach the Commission ambitious targets. Let's do that together.
Thank you. The floor goes now to Hanna Zdanowska.
Thank you very much. I will speak in Polish. Pani komisarz, pani przewodnicząca, koleżanki i koledzy. Gdy mówimy o EU Global Climate and Energy Vision, ale o tym, co finansować z nowych ram finansowych, jeden z kluczowych priorytetów to oczywiście przyspieszenie elektryfikacji. Czysty Ład Przemysłowy mówi jasno. Udział energii elektrycznej w końcowym zużyciu energii powinien wzrosnąć w Unii Europejskiej z 21,2% do 32% w roku 30. To bardzo ambitne założenie. Wymaga między innymi ogromnych inwestycji w sieci przesyłowe, zwłaszcza na poziomie dystrybucji regionalnej i lokalnej. To tam przyłączonych będzie w Unii około 70%, a w Polsce nawet 90% wszystkich nowych instalacji OZE, także tych przydomowych czy magazynów energii. Rozwój sieci przy wsparciu środków Unii Europejskiej pozwoli zapewnić, że nasi mieszkańcy, ponosząc koszty transformacji, będą mogli również skorzystać z niższych kosztów energii. Mówiąc o kosztach transformacji, nie sposób nie wspomnieć systemu ETS. W Polsce wpływa on na 40 do 50% ceny energii elektrycznej dla odbiorców przemysłowych, odbijając się w sposób negatywny również na wielu przedsiębiorców z zakresu MŚP oraz tworzonych regionalnie i lokalnie miejscach pracy. Konieczna jest reforma ETS, która ograniczy zmienność opłat emisji i złagodzi ich wpływ na cenę energii elektrycznej. Inaczej trudno marzyć o szybszej elektryfikacji. I ostatnia rzecz, kluczowa. Tak, aby utrzymać do 2030 roku dodatkowe bezpłatne uprawnienia dla ciepłownictwa systemowego. W Polsce korzysta z niego około 15 milionów ludzi. Te uprawnienia przekazywane pod warunkiem przygotowania przez przedsiębiorstwo planu neutralności klimatycznej pomogą dekarbonizować ten sektor, nie przerzucając nadmiernych kosztów na odbiorców końcowych. Z jednej strony tak właśnie powinny być wykorzystywane środki z ETS na transformację. Z drugiej strony tylko wtedy ta transformacja jest nie tylko czysta i konkurencyjna, ale przede wszystkim sprawiedliwa. Dlatego te uprawnienia muszą pozostać po roku 2030. Dziękuję. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nadia Pelefik.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will speak in French. Madame la vice-présidente exécutive, il y a une semaine, dans ma région, les écoles ont fermé parce qu'à 10 heures le matin, il faisait 35 degrés dans les salles de classe. Un réacteur nucléaire a dû réduire sa puissance parce que l'eau du fleuve pour le rafraîchir était trop élevée. Nos éleveurs ont vu la production de lait réduire de 30%. Et nous avons des cépages de vin qui font la marque de notre région, qui risquent leur appellation parce que il y a des stress hydriques trop importants. Tout ça, c'est pas un film catastrophe, c'est une réalité dans mon territoire et pour beaucoup de territoires européens. Et c'est la preuve aussi qu'on ne peut pas opposer compétitivité et action environnementale ou énergie. On voit à quel point ces deux sujets sont liés. Ça signifie pour nous, au Comité européen des régions, dans nos villes et nos territoires, que toute législation, toute simplification, y compris à travers les omnibus et le paquet environnemental, doivent associer nos territoires dans la manière de construire les stratégies, dans la manière de bâtir les solutions, parce que nous sommes, nous, celles et ceux qui opérons sur le terrain. Et nous réclamons d'être davantage que des opérateurs, mais véritablement des stratèges pour que nos ambitions communes puissent être une réalité qui soit construite aussi dans l'égalité sociale de celles et ceux qui sont les plus atteints par les difficultés environnementales, qui sont les plus fragiles et les plus vulnérables en Europe. Et c'est parce que nous serons associés, nous, territoires et villes, parce que nous connaissons nos populations, parce que nous savons aussi leur niveau d'acceptabilité et que nous pouvons mettre en œuvre les démarches démocratiques, que nous rendrons efficace une Europe qui a besoin d'être concrète et démontrer encore une fois son utilité auprès de nos concitoyens pour qu'à nos côtés, ils puissent la défendre, non pas pour ce qu'elle est, mais pour les valeurs qu'elle porte et le progrès qu'elle peut apporter sur nos territoires. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Joško Klišović.
Thank you, Madam President. Energy is one of the most important ingredients of our development, our progress and our security. It is a foundation of our competitiveness and strategic autonomy. It touches the quality of life and personal budget of every and each of our citizens. Therefore, it should be devoted our utmost attention. Our uncontested goal should be sustainable and affordable energy produced on the territory of the European Union. Dependence on energy imports must be reduced in short term and eliminated in long term. Alliances and international markets have proven to be volatile and therefore unreliable. It should be equally clear that one type of energy dependency must not be replaced with the new one. Fossil fuel dependency must not be replaced by renewable smart system dependency. Digitalization should increase resilience, not create a new layer of foreign dependence. The EU can rely only on its own knowledge, innovation and investments, therefore on its own competitive production. That's why energy transition must continue full speed. It is existentially important to upgrade the EU policy and legal framework with firmly embedded, efficient multi-level governance, as well as funding for cities and regions to ensure energy resilience, sustainability and affordable prices, as well as just energy transition. Thank you.
Thank you. François de Coster.
Madame la Présidente, Vice-présidente exécutive, mes chers collègues, mes collègues viennent d'évoquer la situation que nos territoires viennent de connaître et dans ma ville de Saint-Omer, c'était une réalité aussi qui nous a conduits à pouvoir accompagner nos seniors, nos écoliers, les habitants à retrouver de la fraîcheur. Quelques mois à peine après les terribles inondations qui, à l'hiver 23-24, étaient déjà une marque cruelle du dérèglement climatique. Madame la vice-présidente exécutive, vous venez de rappeler que la politique de cohésion doit et peut nous accompagner dans l'adaptation au dérèglement climatique. Et une fois de plus, je souhaite pouvoir me faire écho de ce que notre Comité européen des régions n'a cessé de dire. Il ne faut pas renationaliser la politique de cohésion, précisément pour les raisons que vous venez de mettre en avant. Parce que nous sommes au plus près des réalités locales, que nous savons comment adapter nos espaces publics, que nous savons comment également adapter nos bâtiments municipaux et que nous pouvons ensemble préparer une stratégie qui s'inscrit dans la durée de nos mandats municipaux ou régionaux. Alors, ce n'est pas une position dogmatique qui est celle que nous avons adoptée. Et ils ont été très nombreux, les rapporteurs, à le dire très clairement dans le débat qui s'annonce. Nous souhaitons que la gouvernance puisse mettre au premier rang les collectivités locales et régionales pour une dépense européenne la plus efficace possible, la plus protectrice de nos concitoyennes et de nos concitoyens et la plus avant-gardiste, j'allais dire, pour prévenir et nous protéger des crises à venir. Qu'il me soit permis, et je voudrais remercier notre présidente Katatuto pour les mots qu'elle a exprimés tout à l'heure à mon endroit, d'évoquer la région du monde dans laquelle je vais me tourner dans quelques semaines et porter la voix de territoires qui sont souvent peu représentés ici. Vous avez évoqué les RUP il y a un instant. Je voudrais évoquer les pays et territoires d'outre-mer, des territoires qui n'appartiennent pas au territoire de l'Union européenne, mais qui néanmoins sont peuplés d'1 million d'habitants qui sont des citoyens européens. Je voudrais tout simplement vous rappeler leur dépendance énergétique. À plus de 95%, la Polynésie française doit importer son énergie et la Nouvelle-Calédonie à 93%. Quels sont les instruments du cadre financier pluriannuel qui vont pouvoir prendre en considération ces situations-là? Ce sont des situations vécues, certes par des citoyens européens de l'autre côté du monde, mais qui nous interpellent tout autant. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Marco Marsilio.
Grazie Presidente, Vicepresidente Ribera. Noi conservatori europei siamo convinti che la transizione debba essere guidata dal pragmatismo e non dall'ideologia. I cittadini europei chiedono e vogliono un ambiente più pulito e sano, ma vogliono anche che questo obiettivo si raggiunga mantenendo i posti di lavoro, bollette sostenibili e opportunità economiche. Se ignoriamo una di queste esigenze rischiamo di compromettere tutte le altre. Per questo guardiamo con crescente preoccupazione all'attuale sistema ETS, nato come strumento per ridurre le emissioni e oggi rischia sempre più di trasformarsi in una tassa sulla produzione europea. Non possiamo in nessun modo salvare il pianeta distruggendo la base produttiva europea. La decarbonizzazione non può trasformarsi in deindustrializzazione. Per questo chiediamo che la prossima revisione dell'ETS sia una vera svolta politica e non solo un esercizio tecnico. Abbiamo bisogno di un sistema che tenga realmente conto della competitività industriale europea. Le regioni e le città europee non chiedono meno ambizione climatica, chiedono però più realismo, maggiore flessibilità e un approccio che tenga conto delle differenze economiche e territoriali tra gli Stati membri. L'Europa ha bisogno di un approccio che sia davvero tecnologicamente neutro. Non possiamo permetterci di escludere soluzioni che possono contribuire alla sicurezza energetica e alla riduzione delle emissioni. Per questo accogliamo con favore la crescente apertura dell'Italia verso il nucleare di nuova generazione. I piccoli reattori modulari e le nuove tecnologie nucleari possono rappresentare un complemento strategico alle fonti rinnovabili, garantendo energia stabile, pulita e accessibile. Non è una scelta ideologica, ma una scelta di buonsenso. L'obiettivo deve rimanere la riduzione delle dipendenze da paesi terzi e il conseguente raggiungimento della sicurezza energetica dell'Europa. Vicepresidente Ribera, l'Europa deve guidare la transizione, ma deve farlo senza sacrificare la sua potenza industriale, la sua sicurezza energetica e la coesione sociale delle sue comunità. L'obiettivo deve essere quello di diventare il primo continente capace di coniugare sostenibilità, prosperità e competitività. Noi conservatori europei non siamo disposti a compromettere la tenuta economica delle nostre nazioni per inseguire obiettivi dettati dall'ideologia anziché dal buonsenso. Grazie.
Grazie. Andris Grifroy.
Thank you, President. Executive Vice President RIBERA. Europe is facing a defining energy challenge. High energy prices continue to undermine our industrial competitiveness, putting pressure on our businesses, on our jobs, and investment across our regions. Recent geopolitical crises, starting from Russia's aggression against Ukraine to the instability in the Middle East, have once again demonstrated the strategic vulnerability of our energy system. If we want Europe to remain competitive, we must guarantee access to affordable, secure and sustainable energy. As transport, heating and industry continue to electrify, electricity demand will only increase. We therefore need an energy system that can meet this growing demand while continuing the transition to low-carbon energy. This requires a diversified energy mix based on renewables and other low-carbon technologies, including wind, solar, biomass and nuclear energy. And at the same time, investment in innovation, including research into nuclear fusion, must continue. But production alone is not enough. Without proper planning and significant investment in infrastructure, these ambitions will remain out of reach. As highlighted in the opinion on wind power in the Committee of the Regions, for which I was the rapporteur, Europe must accelerate grid investment. Today, Europe remains heavily dependent on important technologies for renewable energy production, and at the same time, many of our grids still lack the capacity to transport electricity efficiently from where it is produced to where it is needed. Recent events in your country, Spain, have also shown the importance of grid resilience and system stability. We therefore welcome the Commission's recent initiatives on electrifications, grids and energy security. But now is the time to move from strategy to implementation. Europe needs financial resources and industrial ambitions necessary to achieve energy autonomy and strengthen its competitiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina Ratilainen.
Dear President, dear Vice President of the Commission and colleagues, this is the summer we should all remember well. Because believe it or not, this is probably the coolest summer that Europe has left for some time. But there is still a way of speaking, as climate change was an active agent. Weather hasn't caused any suffering though. Climate didn't kill anybody and environment didn't cause any economic losses. Fossil-intense industry did, overconsumption did, and unsustainable forestry did. Inaction and negligence did, and lack of courage to drive systemic change did. These are very scary times. The question is, are we scared enough to act so decisively that we would not have disputes over climate policies, no hard negotiations and close voting results in any of the European institutions? Because if we continue like this, things will only get worse. I really hope that this is not one of the moments when we get very serious with climate and aware, but right after, in the votings of next opinions, budgets and policies, we forget about and take other priorities. Dear Vice President, the Greens and Progressives want to thank you for your leadership in climate ambition and commitment to advance with the Green Deal. Eventually, the responsibility, I believe, lies as much in the hands of the Commission as well as the smallest municipality that is present in this room. To succeed, we need you and you need us. We need the most ambitious climate policy that the EU has ever experienced this far. We need binding targets, earmarked funding, bold objectives. And we have so many cities that are more ambitious and innovative than their countries. All the more reason to include cities and regions in a mandatory way in NRPPs. And alike, the future needs from the local dimension most ambitious implementation that we have ever seen. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the 1 minute interventions. Please keep the time. The more you keep the time, more people can speak. Jesus Ángel Garrido Martínez.
Gracias, señora presidenta, queridos colegas, estimada vicepresidenta. En mi opinión, deberíamos ser capaces de transformar los grandes objetivos estratégicos en inversiones tangibles que protejan a las personas, que reduzcan emisiones y que, en definitiva, nos preparen para el futuro. Precisamente por eso me gustaría hablar del proyecto Atenea, que con la colaboración del Banco Europeo de Inversiones desarrollamos desde La Rioja con una finalidad clara, que es la de conseguir la máxima eficiencia energética en los edificios públicos de mi región. Hemos conseguido movilizar 37,7 millones de euros desde el inicio del programa, casi 4 de ellos destinados íntegramente a los colegios de mi región. Pero tan importante como el volumen de los recursos que se manejan es el cómo se gestionan. Y precisamente por eso, vicepresidenta, me gustaría hacerle una pregunta. ¿Cuál será el papel de las regiones para definir hitos y objetivos en los capítulos regionales de los planes de asociación para, entre otras cosas, poder adaptar climáticamente a los colegios de mi región? Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. Annika Vohn.
Sehr geehrte Frau Exekutivvizepräsidentin, sehr geehrte Kolleginnen und Kollegen. Meine Region Nordrhein-Westfalen ist der stärkste Wirtschaftsstandort in Deutschland. Und wir wollen erste klimaneutrale Industrieregion Europas werden. Wir stehen vor großen Herausforderungen. Die Überarbeitung des EU-Emissionshandels ist für uns daher von zentraler Bedeutung. Es ist das zentrale Instrument für die Dekarbonisierung. Planungssicherheit ist für uns als Industriestandort wichtig. Gleichzeitig müssen wir sicherstellen, dass Dekarbonisierung nicht durch Deindustrialisierung erreicht wird. Wir müssen die Industrie unterstützen, insbesondere durch die Verlängerung der kostenlosen Zuteilung und die Einbeziehung von Carbon Capture, Utilization und Storage. Wir müssen in Europa Klimaziele, Wettbewerbsfähigkeit und sozialen Zusammenhalt immer zusammendenken. Vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank. The floor goes now to Daniel Fellner.
Vielen Dank, Frau Präsidentin. Geschätzte Frau Exekutivvizepräsidentin RIBERA, Sie haben vorhin betont, dass die Auswirkungen wir in den Regionen spüren. Und ich möchte auf eine dieser Auswirkungen kurz zu sprechen kommen, nämlich die Katastrophen. Klimaschutz und Katastrophenvorsorge, das sind untrennbare Einheiten. Die Weiterentwicklung des Katastrophenschutzes durch die Europäische Kommission wird von Kärnten ausdrücklich unterstützt. Wir brauchen moderne Technik, modernen Datenaustausch, moderne Abstimmungen weit über die Grenzen hinaus. Und ich möchte betonen, dass als Landeshauptmann von Kärnten mir wichtig ist, dass diese Ziele keine theoretischen Ziele bleiben dürfen. Wir müssen die Erfahrungswerte unserer Regionen abbilden. Schutz und Vorsorge sind natürlich Ländersache oder Sache einer Region. Aber das Klima kennt keine Grenzen. Das Klima oder Katastrophen interessieren sich nicht für Länder- oder Regionsgrenzen. Dass es funktionieren kann, das zeigt auch unser Bundesland Kärnten. Gut abgestimmt mit den Nachbarbundesländern können wir gut positiv in die Zukunft blicken.
Vielen Dank. Jennifer Jasberg. The mic.
Verehrte Präsidentin, verehrte Vizepräsidentin RIBERA, werte KollegInnen. In Hamburg hat im letzten Herbst eine Mehrheit der Bürgerinnen und Bürger per Volksentscheid für mehr Klimaschutz gestimmt. Nicht die Regierung, nicht das Parlament, sondern die Bevölkerung hat gesagt, wir wollen ambitionierteren Klimaschutz und wir wollen Klimaneutralität bis 2040. Und dass das notwendig ist, also dringend notwendig ist, das haben natürlich auch die letzten Tage in Hamburg bewiesen, denn so heiß war es nie, die Menschen haben gelitten. Und wir blicken natürlich mit unseren Ambitionen jetzt nach Berlin und sehen da Stillstand. Kein Tempo beim Netzausbau, wir sehen keinen klaren Pfad mehr bei den Erneuerbaren. Die Bundesregierung hat scheinbar das ganze Thema Klimakatastrophe von der Agenda genommen und auch letzte Woche haben wir gesehen, dass sich die Deutsche Bahn besorgter an die Bürgerinnen Deutschlands gewendet hat als unsere Bundesregierung. Und dabei bleiben die Ziele natürlich sehr klar und deswegen wandert unser Blick gerade auch aus einer ambitionierten Region nach Europa. Denn wenn bei uns der Bund bremst in dieser Frage, dann brauchen wir den Rückenwind auch aus Europa. Und wir brauchen verlässliche Rahmenbedingungen und wir brauchen die europäischen Partnerinnen und setzen darauf. Vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank. Kishatilla.
Tisztelt elnök asszony, dear members, as we look to the future MFF, we must draw clear lessons from the recent energy crisis. It has shown the urgent need for greater budgetary flexibility at EU level so that we can respond quickly and effectively to support both households and industry when costs increase. The next MFF should therefore include adaptable financial mechanisms capable of mobilizing targeted investments in response to rising energy prices and evolving economic pressures. At the same time, climate and environmental spending must be designed with realism and coherence. It should be closely aligned with the forthcoming review of the EU emissions trading system, which will be decisive, ensuring that our climate ambition remains compatible with industrial competitiveness, economic resilience and strategic and autonomy. Thank you.
Köszönöm. Nathalie Sarabezol.
Oui, merci Madame la Présidente, Madame la Vice-présidente exécutive. L'Europe a multiplié les transitions comme on colle des étiquettes sur un même flacon, écologique, juste, numérique, énergétique, et sur le terrain, régions et villes n'y voient qu'un résultat, la fragmentation. Objectifs divergents, financements disparates, DG qui s'ignorent. Or, une transition éclatée en initiatives parallèles échouera toujours là où un travail collectif réussirait. Et ce qui est en jeu, ce n'est pas un puzzle administratif, c'est bien le présent et l'avenir de citoyennes et de citoyens. Votre portefeuille doit assembler ces morceaux. Concrètement, quel levier allez-vous actionner pour imposer une cohérence de l'indispensable action écologique autour de l'impératif de justice territoriale et d'inclusion des citoyennes et des citoyens? Pour notre groupe, simplifier et aligner les règles sans perdre en exigence, c'est la condition pour réussir ensemble plutôt qu'échouer séparément. Le dialogue multiniveau du 3 décembre, organisé par le Comité des régions, en est l'occasion. Co-construirez-vous avec nous ce cadre commun? Car une Europe qui additionne les silos n'additionne pas les réussites, elle les empêche. C'est ce que les citoyens et les citoyennes attendent de nous.
Merci. Stanisław Jastrzębski. Probably I got the name wrong, so it's Stanislav Jastrzębski. No, he's not here. So then we move on to Vlasta Kmeli.
Thank you. I will speak in Slovene. Spoštovani predsednici, spoštovane kolegice in kolegi. Danes razpravljamo o temi energija, ki ni več zgolj tehnično vprašanje, temveč je postala eden ključnih političnih, gospodarskih in varnostnih izzivov našega časa. Energiji in tudi energetski neodvisnosti in varnosti. Zato se mora to odražati tudi v novi finančni perspektivi. Za občine in regije energija ni abstrakten pojem. Pomeni delovanje bolnišnic, šol, vodovodnih sistemov in vseh javnih storitev tudi v času kriz. Energetska varnost ni zgolj zaščita energetskih sistemov, je tudi ustvarjanje novih priložnosti. Vsaka sončna elektrarna na strehi šole, vsaka toplotna črpalka proizvedena v Evropi krepi našo energetsko varnost, hkrati pa ustvarja nova delovna mesta, spodbuja inovacije in prispeva v gospodarski rasti. Za evropske regije in mesta je energetska varnost zato tudi strategija gospodarskega razvoja. Pri tem pa mora ta cenovna dostopnost energije in socialna pravičnost ostati v središču prihodnjega energetskega okvirja. Dostopna in varna energija ne bo nastajala samo v Bruslju. Gradila se bo v naših regijah in mestih. In močnejša, kot bodo naša lokalna okolja, močnejša bo tudi Evropska energetska unija.
Antonio De Caro.
Oggi non si può parlare di futuro senza parlare di energia. Ci chiediamo quale pianeta vogliamo lasciare ai nostri figli, ma il futuro dobbiamo costruirlo oggi, lo dobbiamo fare con le scelte e con gli investimenti. Dobbiamo scegliere tra l'energia pulita e l'energia da fonti inquinanti, dobbiamo scegliere tra l'indipendenza energetica o la sudditanza perenne, dobbiamo scegliere tra il passato e il futuro, dobbiamo farlo noi senza aspettare ancora, senza alibi, senza pregiudizi ideologici. La mia regione, la Puglia, è leader in Italia per la produzione di energie da fonti rinnovabili, ma né i cittadini né le imprese ricevono benefici da questo investimento, perché se non lavoreremo sulle regole per la determinazione del prezzo dell'energia, tutti continueremo a pagare l'energia al prezzo unico del mercato, il prezzo del gas, prezzo su cui non abbiamo voce in capitolo, e dobbiamo continuare a investire sull'autosufficienza energetica per tutelare l'ambiente, per contrastare i cambiamenti climatici, per ridurre il costo dell'energia per le famiglie e per aumentare la competitività delle nostre aziende.
Grazie. Rūta Matulaitienė.
Ačiū, gerbiama pirmininkė. Kalbėdami apie Europos pasaulinę klimato ir energetikos viziją, turime prisiminti, kad klimato politika įgyvendinama ne tik tarptautinėse dėrybose, bet pirmiausia mūsų savivaldybėse, regionuose, miestuose. Ir pramoniniams Lietuvos rajonams, taip pat mano Mažeikių rajonui, kaip vienam iš svarbių Lietuvos pramoninių rajonų, energetinė pertvarka nėra teorinė tema. Ji reiškia labai konkrečias kryptis, tai pramonės konkurencingumą, darbo vietų saugumą, viešųjų pastatų energetinį efektyvumą, atsinaujinančios energijos plėtrą, tvaresnį judumą, taip pat prisitaikymą prie klimato kaitos sprendimus. Todėl vietos ir regionų valdžia turi būti ne stebėtoja, o tikra įgyvendinimo partnerė. Tam būtinas aiškus, paprastas ir regionus tiesiogiai pasiekiantis finansavimas, taip pat didesnis savivaldybių įtraukimas į sprendimų priėmimą. Ačiū.
Thank you, Loredana Capone.
Gentile Presidente, gentile Vicepresidente esecutiva, il prossimo quadro finanziario pluriennale dovrà sostenere una transizione energetica che sia non solo sostenibile ma anche equa per i territori. Faccio un esempio pratico che conosco. La Puglia, e lo ha detto adesso il nostro Presidente De Caro, è tra le regioni europee che hanno investito maggiormente nelle energie rinnovabili e continua a farlo. Siamo inoltre per approvare la legge sulle aree idonee, per accelerare lo sviluppo degli impianti in modo ordinato e nel rispetto dei territori. Tuttavia, i cittadini e le imprese pugliesi non percepiscono ancora benefici concreti, ad esempio sul costo dell'energia. È una questione che l'Europa deve affrontare. I territori che contribuiscono in maniera significativa alla transizione energetica devono poter vedere riconosciuto il valore di questo impegno. Per questo servono investimenti nelle reti, nei sistemi di accumulo e in una governance che coinvolga davvero le regioni, affinché la transizione energetica produca benefici ambientali, economici e sociali per le comunità che la rendono possibile. Così avremo la possibilità davvero che tutti credano nella energia da fonti rinnovabili. Grazie.
Grazie. Sergio Pérez García.
Gracias, Presidenta, Vicepresidenta. Navarra somos una región transfronteriza con verdes bosques, limpios ríos y suelos sanos. La propuesta del marco financiero acierta al reconocer el aumento de los costes económicos y sociales del cambio climático y la degradación del medio ambiente. Sin embargo, no compartimos la dilución del programa específico LIFE en otros grandes fondos europeos de carácter generalista. Así lo expusimos hace poco en el Consejo de Medio Ambiente, coordinando al resto de comunidades autónomas en una posición común que también fue asumida por el Ministerio para la Transición Ecológica y Reto Demográfico, la vicepresidenta Axen, y respaldada por representantes de otros 13 Estados miembros. En Navarra, durante el periodo 21-25, hemos participado en 22 proyectos LIFE que han movilizado más de 15 millones de euros para nuestra región y que nos han permitido ayudar a proteger nuestra biodiversidad. Somos las regiones quienes aplicamos las políticas verdes europeas y por eso insistimos en reconsiderar el programa LIFE como un instrumento financiero independiente dedicado en exclusiva al clima y al medio ambiente. Porque en Navarra queremos seguir disfrutando de ríos limpios donde bañarnos, bosques frondosos donde refugiarnos y aire limpio y sano que respirar.
Gracias. Buke Arends.
Thank you, Madam President. I will speak in Dutch on behalf of the Dutch delegation. Allereerst dank aan onze leden, de heer Bakojanic en Trzaskowski, voor het goede werk met hun adviezen. Goed ook om vandaag in aanwezigheid van commissaris RIBERA te spreken over de mondiale klimaat- en energiecrisis van de EU. Aangezien, zoals door u mevrouw RIBERA benadrukt, lokale en regionale overheden een cruciale rol spelen in de energietransitie. Dank voor uw aanwezigheid daarom. Ik wil graag namens de Nederlandse delegatie de gelegenheid benutten de dringende noodzaak te benadrukken om de Europese elektriciteitsnetten te versterken. In Nederland vormt netcongestie een steeds grotere belemmering voor de industrie, de woningbouw en de groene transitie. En daarom verwelkomen wij het EU-netpakket van harte. Snellere vergunningsprocedures en, waar gerechtvaardigd, een doorslaggevend algemeen belang kunnen investeringen in het netwerk versnellen en zowel onze klimaatdoelstellingen als onze concurrentiedoelstellingen ondersteunen. En tegelijkertijd moet het pakket aansluiten op de nationale procedures. Het mag met name geen verplichte, stilzwijgende goedkeuring lex silentio positivo invoeren, aangezien dit goed functionerende nationale regelingen zal verstoren. En tot slot moeten we dit in een mondiale context bekijken. Europa moet concurrerend blijven en het volgend meerjarig financieel kader moet dit ondersteunen, zoals de rapporten die voor ons liggen terecht erkennen. Dank u wel.
Adrian Ovidiu Teban.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice President. First of all, I want to congratulate the rapporteur, both of them, for this opinion. It addresses a crucial issue for the future of cohesion policy and the next MFF. It is essential that the next MFF reflects the needs and the priorities of local communities. In this regard, I welcome the recommendation to allocate 20% of the relevant funding to territorial priorities. These represent an important step towards strengthening the territorial dimension of European policies. As I said in the former opinion concerning automotive industry, this transition has to be done technologically by innovation and competitiveness and not ideologically. Finally, Europe's climate ambition must be inclusive, including not only big cities but also small and medium-sized towns that I represent here. The next MFF should include dedicated instruments enabling these communities to actively participate in the green transition. Only then can we speak of a truly transition in which no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a problem. We have no interpretation. I will need to close the debate because I had to choose between giving the words to members or to give the words to the Executive Vice President, and I'm sorry I chose the members. I'm really sorry, but we need to go and talk to the press. And we need the rapporteurs. And I need to give the floor to Gillian right away. I don't know what we do with the interpretation.
We need to wait for the...
Okay, I'll leave this problem to Gillian. Thank you very much, Vice President, Executive Vice President Teresa Ribeira, for coming and for your flexibility. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will send you a kind letter with some comments, and I will thank you all. I wanted to thank you all for your observations and comments. Thank you.